Hyper-independence is a trauma response, which I've recognized I had in our relationship because I was holding myself back from depending on you. Yeah, we were a unit, but I was always kind of saving a piece of myself to myself, if that makes sense. And now when I've realized that that is coming from a place of like trauma response, I started really making an effort to change it. And I know that I chose you for a reason because you gave me a feeling that I knew was what my mom never had, and I knew that that's what I needed in my life. I'm a little different now with you than before. Do you feel that?
Someone just asked me if I still rap. And I didn't know what he was talking about. So
what do you mean?
I literally rapped once.
Yeah, at our wedding.
Well, yeah. Well, I rapped once professionally. That was the only time I rapped professionally. Meaning I didn't get paid to rap, but I just felt like a professional.
Right. So when was other times that you were rapping?
I never rapped.
Oh, so that one time gave you the rapper name?
I don't know about that. That's probably...
But he asked you about
Don't say that. That's embarrassing because real rappers will look at me and laugh at me. I don't want to be laughed at by rappers. It's the last thing I need in my life because they're vicious. They're like 4-year-olds, you know. 4-year-olds can be really mean. Like Max this morning. I mean, he's 6 and he walked out there butt naked when you and I were sitting there demanding that we feed him at 6 in the morning.
He's just a hungry man.
He's a hungry little dude. So he came over. So we had some friends come over last night for dinner and he asked me if I still rap. And I didn't know what the hell he was talking about. And so then he referred to my wedding rap. I've often thought I should probably like on some kind of an occasion like surprise you with some rap.
I sometimes get those commercials, ads on Instagram where you get someone to like rap or like make a song based on your love story. So maybe you can do that.
Maybe. I'll see what I can do.
I'm excited for my rap gift.
Your rap gift?
My rapper Gary.
You got
on a
it.
CD.
I'll see what I can do. On a CD?
Oh, no, there's no way.
That's like so 2003.
What's the plan for 2025?
What's the plan?
Yeah.
Just to keep slaying and killing shit and doing everything. I just love things now. I'm in a really good place. Like we continue to have great momentum on all the stuff that we're doing, not just in the business, although the business is a lot of it, but with the kids. I feel the kids are really coming into their own. I feel we're past that really difficult like baby stage with most of them. Even Maxie's not a baby anymore, which I know you're sad about. But I just feel like everything's moving along really well. So for me, I just love progress. Even, there's different, the rate of progress varies from time to time, but as long as we keep progressing, which I feel we are, I've been feeling really fulfilled lately. I've been really happy lately, more so than ever before.
Do you attribute your happiness to something? Like I know you said progress, but you said you've been feeling very fulfilled lately. Like where is that fulfillment?
I just feel like we've gotten over the hump. Even now, like because we've talked about this before, we've really gotten over the hump of moving to Miami and like changing our whole lives. And I feel like our life in Canada, more for me than for you, because you only lived there for 10 years. I lived there my whole life.
Yeah.
It's just so in the rear view now. And I so love the United States. I never thought I could so passionately love a country. And I really love this country. You're laughing at me because you're thinking, is he going too far with this podcast and talking about this stuff?
No, I love the patriotism.
I just love it so much. I feel almost like Canada unintentionally deceived me because culturally we're so similar to the United States.
Yeah.
We speak the same language. We consume pretty much all of the same content, except they don't consume Canadian content because Americans don't give a shit about what happens in Canada. But well, they don't. They really don't.
Okay, yeah. You're right.
Americans don't even know what the hell's going on.
Americans don't consume any content that is not about Americans.
That's not necessarily true. That's not necessarily true. But yeah, I mean, I just feel like I was kind of, again, unintentionally deceived because you speak the language and we watch we watch their content and we live like 2 hours from the border. It's like we have the same and we have the same opportunities and culturally we're the same. And you don't realize it when you live in Canada for several decades and you come down here to visit for a week, 2 weeks at a time. But now that we've been immersed in this society for coming on 4 years, in May it's going to be 4 years, you don't understand it until you've lived here. And now that we've lived here, when I see the people, and maybe it's just a Miami thing, I don't know. Maybe there's other places in America that are not like this.
No, we live in a bubble, babe.
I don't know if we live in a bubble, but
we do.
I also think that there's something significant that's happened here in the last 3 years since COVID. COVID accelerated a mass exodus of people coming to Miami. And it created almost like there was a financial barrier to coming here because because at that time everybody was coming at the same time. All the costs for everything skyrocketed.
Yeah.
So it created this barrier to entry to come that only people who could afford it. And not to be a classist, I'm just saying
it's straight up facts.
I'm just talking about the reality.
Yeah.
And so because it created this barrier, you had an influx from all over the world, not just from the rest of the United States.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of New Yorkers and people from California, but from all over the world, people started coming here in droves who could satisfy the financial requirement to come here from all over the world. So you now have an influx of people who are doing big things. They have either big businesses or they're involved.
Building something.
They're building something meaningful, and they're building, but they already have meaningful scale. And they come here and everyone's trying to accelerate. So what I'm feeling here, I don't know if this is a depiction.
I feel like it's in New York. It's a bit of a New York energy, I have to say.
I don't know what that means. I never lived in New York.
That where people are just working, hustling, like have big ideas and dreams, and there is no ceiling to opportunities, and there's just massive abundance. We're talking about it yesterday. This morning when we woke up at 5 a.m. and went outside to have our morning chat, which is, by the way, became like a really nice thing for me. I really like it.
It's on the days when I'm not at the gym at 5 a.m.
I know, so I like it. But I was talking about the idea where I'm starting to finally come into a mindset of like abundance, and I didn't have that before. And it's not only like, I'm not even saying it's from Canada, it's from just my childhood, so this feeling of sacredcy has always dominated. Sacredcy, how do you call it?
Scarcity.
There's too many words that sound the same. Scarcity ruled my life for a while without me even realizing. And I think that's what America gave me. That's the biggest gift it gave me, this idea of abundance. And when I say America, it can be, might be the bubble we're in, Miami, but it's like being surrounded by people that are going after all the things that they want, this like grand understanding of what the world has to offer. That has inspired me the most. So I'm coming into this new year with really shifting my mindset of this scarcity into abundance with everything I do in life. Like, it's not just financial, it's not just money, it's everything, and
I think we're also in a very specific situation where, because of when I say our, I mean mostly your social media footprint, that we have a lot of positive vibes flowing to us in the form of relationships and opportunities.
Thank you for the positive vibes
and experiences, right?
Yeah.
As creators, we get offered like just cool experiences all over the world that sometimes we do and sometimes we don't, but yeah, I mean, so it's a little different for us, but like in general, like
it is, but we're talking about our personal experience.
No,
I actually I don't want you to use in general, because in general doesn't apply.
You know what it is? Whenever we've had these conversations and whenever we're talking and whenever I'm in your content or in my own content, you and I have always tried to be kind of empathetic to everyone at the same time.
Right.
And I'm getting more and more into this mindset, and I'm glad you corrected me about like, we can't be everything to everyone. And in your content, when you mention something, like you did something or you bought something or I don't know, whatever it is, and people are like, well, yeah, but like most people can't afford that. So you're talking from this privileged, vantage point. I don't know, like you work, we've both built it from nothing. And I mean, why
it's
should we feel bad about it?
It's not only that. I think that I'm starting to feel more comfortable with sharing from my own experience and vantage point. And it's because to me, I just feel like when you try to be something for everyone, you're becoming nothing
for anyone.
For nobody, exactly. Yeah. So I just think that it does a disservice to myself, because I feel like I'm not able to really speak, my full truth, and it's a disservice to other people, because other people listening to this, and they might not be in the same place, but it might also inspire them to get to this place, right? So I don't want to. I
remember I had a podcast guest, Alvaro.
Yeah.
Alvaro Nunez, and we're friends. We haven't talked in like a couple of months, but we're buddies. And he was here, and I remember he was telling me the story of how, and he's got a pretty big following, and he does a lot of like just awesome shit, right? He's like,
Yeah, jumps off planes, does Iron Man.
but like he jumps off from like outside of the plane, like he'll strap himself to like the roof of the plane, and he does weird stuff, right? But like weird death defy. So he'll do events. He's great. He'll do events where he calls like a bunch of creators, and they do panel discussions and whatnot, and they'll do it at like a luxury property. And then he can't just like drive up in a car. He like parachutes in.
You know, that's my mother's like dream. Remember how she wanted me to come on a
Let's
hot
talk
air
about the
balloon?
hot air balloon in a second. I'm going to tell that story about your mom. Well, I'm going to hold that, put a bookmark in that story because that's a good story. And so, so with Alvaro, yeah, so he does stuff like that. And I remember he was here on my show, and he was saying how his friends who he knew from school are contacting him and saying, oh, you know, they were put off and they were demotivated by his lifestyle that he was showing on social media, because it's like, I'm not cool like you. I can't do this like you. I don't make this money. I don't do this. I don't do that. And he said, good. He was like, good. Get off your ass.
Yeah.
Go do it. Go get it. So I don't know. I think it's a fine line with social media where people are depicting these lifestyles. And I think it's a question of how it's received by the audience, right? So the audience can they have to make a choice, right? The audience makes a choice. They're either going to look at this, and this is a broader kind of topic about the positives and negatives of social media. But
Which is not what we're talking about.
Which is not what we're talking about. But I'm just saying, in general, people can take a look at things like what you do, what other people do, and either choose to be demotivated, to say it's not possible, or it'll kick them in the ass to go out and do something.
Yeah. Everything is a choice.
But that story with your mom, for your 30th birthday, we were living in Canada.
Wait, for those who don't really have a full understanding of who my mother is and how she moves through life, she is, I don't know if it's like a Russian mentality, but when we talk about grand, that's she is. She literally had a banquet hall called Elite Grand.
I know.
So she wants everything to be big and rich and sparkly. She has changed, I would say, in the past year.
Well,
she
I think
calmed
from
down
necessity,
a little.
because
Yeah.
I think I made it like clear that I don't go this way anymore.
Yeah, we don't do the Russian style here.
For our wedding,
Yeah.
you and I only knew each other for a little over a year.
Yeah.
Right? And obviously, like, I'd known your mother for the same period of time. And I knew that your mother loved throwing parties.
Yes.
Like, the party is the most important. And
Right.
so our wedding was very grand.
Yeah.
And to me, I did that because I could have gone either way, having a big wedding or not. But for your mom, I saw it was important for your mom. So I want you to know I did it for your mom. And I'm happy that I did it for your mom.
I know that.
And I don't regret doing it for your mom, because
Yes.
I love your mom. Your mom is awesome.
Yes.
And we did it. And then after that, every time there's any kind of an occasion, your mom's always pitching me on the party. We got to do a party. We got to do a party. You know, and it's like.
So for my 30th birthday.
So for your 30th birthday, we were in the height of COVID.
Yes.
It was September, so it was cold. It was cold in Canada. And your mom's like, we have to do a party for Valeria's 30th. We can't not do a party for her 30th. It's her 30th. It's a milestone. It's a jubilei. Jubilei? It's a jubilei in Russian. It's a jubilei. It's like, and those who speak Russian know what a jubilei is. And she goes, we have to do this party. We had to do this thing. I'm like, it's COVID. It's what are you talking about? It's the middle of COVID. She goes, we're going to do it outside. I'm like, no one's doing a party outside. What are you talking about? She goes, no. It's going to be great. She goes, we're getting a hot air balloon. A hot air balloon? What are you talking about? I'm like, Victoria, what are you talking about? She goes, we're getting a hot air balloon. We're going to put Valeria in the hot air balloon, and she's going to land in the middle of the field. And around the field, we're going to put tables. There's going to be an outdoor party. I go, it's freezing cold. You want to get a hot air balloon? What do you do? No, we're not doing a party. I go, we're not doing a party in the middle of COVID. And so then we have to be responsible. People are going to get sick. This is when kind of COVID was still new. Nobody knew what was going on. Anyways, I know, and we purposely, we've started touching upon it, but we don't talk about it a lot because I feel it's going to be three world wars in our family.
Why?
Bar mitzvah 1, bar mitzvah 2, bar mitzvah 3.
I actually think that my mother has changed drastically in the last year or two. In the last year specifically, because she's been now in Miami for a year now. And I just think that because she's surrounded by so much of it, of this like glam and to an extent fakeness and all that stuff, she's just starting to value different things in life.
I hope so.
I feel it. And I'm really proud of her. It's not easy to change at the age of 53, your age.
Yeah, I feel I change all the time. What do you mean it's not easy to change?
You are just like very fluid. You change all the time.
I don't know how fluid I am, but I'm certainly open. I'm certainly open to change.
No, but that's amazing. But I just feel like her generation, and I know you guys are not far off in terms of age,
What do you
but it's
mean
a
her
different
generation?
culture.
She's a year and a
Gary,
half
it's-
older than me.
I know, but it's a different culture. Like she comes from a different kind of, you didn't grow
I-
up in
I
Russia in the
understand.
environment that
I
she
get
was
it.
in. So this is a different generation. Although you guys are not far away from each other age-wise, you're very different in mindset and culturally.
Well, that probably works out for the best that your husband is
Absolutely.
completely different than your mother.
Oh, Lord of mercy. No, this is God kiss me in my forehead for that.
Kissed you
with
in the
that.
forehead. Where'd he kiss me for giving me?
Everywhere.
Where did I get kissed? I still get kissed. He still kisses me every
Every
day
morning.
for giving me you.
Okay, listen, there are not enough meals in the day where I can get enough protein. I said what I said. I don't know how people do it. I try to follow all these influencers that are showing how to get the amount of protein in, and it just does not work for me. So because of that, I'm definitely supplementing with a protein powder, but something that I've learned recently is that not all protein powders are the same. So did you know that the Clean Label Project did a recent study that found that 47% of the most popular protein powders exceeded lead and cadmium safety guidelines? Are we surprised? That's why I went on a hunt, and I'm so relieved to share that I found Puri and their PW1 whey protein powder. She is here in all her glory. So let's start with the fact that the entire brand is built on the idea of meticulously testing supplement and transparency to ensure that they are as pure as possible. Specifically, PW1 is a third-party tested against more than 200 contaminants and is Clean Label Project certified. I don't have to tell you what an incredible standard it is and how impossible it is to find these days. It is free from hormones, GMO, pesticides, soy, and gluten, and it delivers 21 grams of protein per serving. My personal favorite is the bourbon vanilla flavor, so you can put it in a smoothie or in a shake, whatever way you use the protein powder. So do what I did, add Puri's PW1 to your routine now. I have a super exciting deal for you if you want to take advantage. Right now you get 20% off, or if you choose their already discounted subscription, you get almost a third of the price. When you visit my exclusive URL, puri.com/Valeria, and use my promo code Valeria. That's PUORI.com/Valeria. That discount is only available when you visit my exclusive URL and use my promo code, so don't wait. My life now, for me personally, I care more about how my life feels than how it looks. That's a big
You mean
mind
looks
shift.
in terms of all this material stuff, or
From the
external-
outside in general.
in order to get to the point where you truly don't care, or you don't do things to influence people's opinion of you, and you do things for your and your family's benefit and pleasure. I don't know, it's just different. Like, I have a one-track mind. Like, I don't care.
You're very absolute, but you do care, Gary. There are moments, listen, and that's a human behavior. It's not like, there are moments and decisions that are sometimes made from a place of like, oh, but it looks good.
I care that our kids, that our sons and you look at me and consider me to be a kind, honorable, and good and decent human being. Mm-hmm. That's what I care about. I care that you believe that, and that's what I care about. Whether or not somebody else believes that, I really don't care. Like, I don't care if, like, our friends believe that or not.
Right.
Because friends, to me, we're not in it together. Meaning, you can have very close friends, mm-hmm. but at the end of the day, it's your family. It's the family unit that I prioritize. I don't deprioritize my friends, but I believe that if everybody prioritized their family unit mm-hmm. above all else, mm-hmm. their immediate family, like their inner, like, kids and spouse, I think the world would be a better place. I think if people had those priorities in place. That's why outside of our family unit, I don't really care much what people think.
I agree with you. You asked me earlier how I want to feel, just so you're informed.
Yeah.
I want to feel...
So I'm informed? Okay.
Yes.
Okay,
I want
informed.
to have a calm nervous system.
Yeah.
I like the busyness and I like the dynamic life that we lead, but I don't want to forget myself. I want to challenge myself, but not betray myself, you know? Does that make sense?
No, none of it. I don't
Like
really get it.
I want to know my limits, and I want to continue stretching my limit, but prioritize my kind of state of being. Like nothing is more important than how I feel inside with myself. So if that's around work, if it's around, it's basically kind of like boundaries, continue implementing my boundaries, which I feel like I'm pretty good at, but there's other areas that I can make it better.
Yeah, I'm not into that, but that's cool that you're into it.
You're not into boundaries?
Well, I'm just not into like limits. I don't like limiting shit. Like I don't like saying that I'm like, for me, I wouldn't say that next year I'm going to prioritize feeling good in my boundaries, because for me, feeling good is, I don't know, is achieving cool stuff on all aspects. Health, wellness, money, kids, like all that stuff. So I'm not saying to myself, well, I'm going to throttle certain achievements because I want to feel good. I feel good when we have achievements.
Yeah, but we're different in that way.
Well, that's cool.
So that's for me is what kind of 2025. It needs to be coming from a place of like pushing myself to do things, but staying true to also me as a person. Like the scariest thing for me is to become someone that I don't like. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but why would you?
I don't know, because I think you sometimes get so absorbed with everything that's going on that you just start doing things and making decisions, and you wake up one day and be like, that's not at all what I wanted.
Yeah, the business that we're in, this whole thing with content creation. I mean, it's a fickle game.
That's why I constantly talk about it. About the idea of.
But I don't think you need to
staying connected to myself.
I don't think you need to worry about it, because there are some people in this industry where they're playing a role. Like they're playing a role to try to gain it, to try to get attention, to try to maintain attention, to try to maintain relevance.
Okay, but I know you're talking about this industry, but I feel like that people do that in general.
People do that in general. People play roles, and the luxury that we have is that we can just be ourselves. And I think who we are, and specifically who you are, is very cool. So as long as you keep being you and being cool, and then everything is fine. I notice this a lot. Like when we talk about your work, you're always concerned about your authenticity. You're always concerned about not going too far, this and that. But
because I've met people that.
Yeah, but they ain't you.
I know that there ain't me, but that is.
I love it when you try to talk like me. No, sorry.
Why? Because I say ain't?
Yeah.
But it's something that stuck with me. I don't know. I just don't want to become that person. And it's not because, I don't want to change or whatever. No, I just want to stay rooted in me, because I like me.
I see no limits. I see, both of us continuing to just excel in all levels, but while staying who we are. Like, I don't feel that when things fluctuate and when we have upswings in our business, I don't feel a fundamental change in who you are.
Yeah.
You're completely grounded the whole time. So I can give you that feedback as an aside. What I can tell you is that, and I think this is universal across all careers, whether you're a creator, whatever you're doing, is that the happier you are, and I see it with you and with me, the happier we are, the more things keep going our way. So making sure that we optimize for happiness. I think that's universal.
The rule of energy.
No, it's
law of attraction.
It's the rule of energy, but there's that constant, thing that people, there's the constant thing that people say that they know so many super wealthy people that are miserable.
Yeah.
And I would say that most of the people that I talk to that are super wealthy, when you kind of go to the side and you form a deeper connection with them, a lot of them are miserable. But specifically, people tell me that are connected to very high net worth individuals, they tell me that these guys are miserable people.
Well,
so they're obviously
I'm
saying they're obviously not prioritizing their happiness, and
right.
But they're still achieving huge financial gains. Mm-hmm. But then they're kind of broke everywhere else.
Yeah.
I think. Do you want to talk about? So we asked our kids this morning on the drive to school what we should talk about on our podcast.
Yes.
Do you want to talk about what Jake suggested or what Max suggested?
Well, Max suggested to talk about anuses, which I don't know if that's going to be the topic of our
That was the funniest
episode.
thing. We're in the car. Did you catch that on camera when he said that?
Yes, of course.
When we were in the car and we were asked the kids, we have this podcast today, and if they could give us suggestions on what to talk about. And Max, he was sitting in the middle, and he's the smallest one. He's sitting in the middle between his two big brothers, and he goes, "You should talk about anuses."
But Jake had a nice suggestion.
Sorry, are we not talking about anuses?
I don't have much to contribute on this topic. I'll do my research and we can reconvene.
Please do. You use ChatGPT. I wonder if we went to ChatGPT and said we want to talk for an hour about anuses.
I'm sure it would give you everything you need.
Do you want me to take a look and to see what
Absolutely
it says?
not.
You don't think
But
that would make for a fun conversation?
Gary asked Jake, and Jake had a really cute response. He said, talk about who you were before you met each other and who you are now.
I was clearly very dope and fly simultaneously. Do you know why?
Why?
Because I was able to attract you. You were not a woman. You were a girl back then. You were 20 years old. You were not a girl who was easily swayed. So I must have been very cool.
You were something, all right.
What was I? Why don't you tell me what you thought I was?
I mean, I think we talked about it so much throughout.
Did we?
Yeah, all the time we talk about it.
I don't remember, but okay.
So the suggestion was very cute, but that's something that we've just covered so many times. But yeah, they were very. I like how dialed in they are with our, family business.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I find that they're like everything. Yeah, I don't think they care. They care because I think they're proud of us to a certain degree. Mm-hmm. They're proud of you, obviously, but I don't think it changes anything for them. They're just like chilled out guys.
Good. I wanted to keep it that way.
I got a second motorcycle.
Yeah, you did.
I did. I'm very happy about that because I felt 2 is the right amount. I think.
You know what? It's very inspired. I'm very inspired by you with
my motorcycles.
Yeah, with your motorcycles and just the way you just really went out to find things that bring you joy. I think a lot of people, especially at your age, my
age, okay.
Yeah, at your age,
okay,
yeah.
Okay,
even in my age, honestly, a lot of people just don't have the energy or the willingness to just go out there and like find something that sets their soul on fire. And you did something that I completely did not expect.
With the motorcycles?
With the motorcycles, you love shooting guns.
I do love shooting guns.
You go to the range, you enjoy it.
Wow, we talked about my guns.
Yeah, but I love that you found things that like make you excited. And it's very attractive to have a partner that like has his own world. And so that's really important.
Are you saying you're attracted to me? Are you coming on to me? Are you flirting with me? Is that what you're doing?
Yes, I'm flirting with you.
You are. I can see that. I just want
Stop
you to
making me blush.
I just want you to know that I noticed you noticing me.
Yeah?
Yeah, I noticed you noticing me.
Okay, good.
I just want you to notice that. I'm putting you on notice that I noticed you noticing me.
Okay, I have mental gymnastics right now with all the noticing. But I think that that's very important, and I love that. And I think more people, like I wanted to highlight that because that really changed the dynamic in our relationship.
I don't know, like what are we doing all this stuff for if we're not, listen, just moving down here, it changed everything for me. It really did. I think the biggest hack somebody could do is get the fuck out of wherever they're at if they're stagnating and move somewhere else. I mean, it's a lift.
You know, there's a saying in Hebrew, "Meshane makom, meshane mazal." It's like you change a place, you change your luck. I was just sharing on my Instagram how I kind of trapped myself in this like effortlessness phase where, you look at people from the outside and you're just like, oh, it comes so effortlessly to them and everything is so effortlessly, the way they make money, the way they speak, the way they carry themselves, the kind of things that they do, they pick something up and it's successful right away. And I know it's a trap because I should know better. I know how long it takes to get something up and running and build a business and build whatever personal brand. I know all of these things, and because I've been kind of on autopilot this past month, I kind of succumbed to that viewpoint, and it made me so insecure with myself. It made me feel, because things are requiring so much effort out of me, something is like I don't have the skills, or I don't have the potential to to succeed or to be as good as this person, because for them it looks like everything comes so easily, which I think a lot of people, when they are on social media, even probably watching my stuff, they feel the same way. Yeah,
they feel that it's easy.
Yeah, they feel like everything is easy. And, when they kind of go and pick something up and it's really hard, they're like, oh, it's not for me. It's not meant to be for me.
I mean, look, we were talking about this before, about this inconsistency between what people want to achieve and the amount of effort they're putting into it.
Yeah.
Is that on this topic?
Yeah, it is. Because again, effortless requires a lot of effort.
What appears to be effortless. But
Yeah.
So when we talk about, I recently made a reel. I was sitting in our cold plunge, and I made this reel to talk about specifically like with creators, but I think that this is probably pretty consistent across the board, where I've had creators who, and we speak to a lot of, like through Creator Method, I speak to a lot of creators now, and we do as a company, and it's just amazing that when I have conversations with them and they're upset that they're not achieving their goals and they're not getting growth and they're not doing all these things, and I look at their social media and it's like, you haven't posted in weeks. And when you did post, I mean, there was no intention or effort in the content. So why do you believe that you're owed success in an endeavor that you're not putting any meaningful effort into? And then I would ask the creators, I'd say, did you go to college or university? And they're like, yeah. I'd say, okay, well, you have to go every day and you have to write the tests and study for the exams and all the stuff that you had to do. You got assignments, this and that, and you had to do all those things, and you understood that your actions are going to map to an eventual goal, which is getting your degree or diploma. When someone has a job or a career, they understand they have to go to work every day and they have to put in the time and the effort in order for them to both keep their job and for their career to advance. But there are some things, like, I'm using content creation as an example, and there's probably a lot more. It's like,
I feel like with everything,
but I feel it's amplified with content creation, because what happens is they'll look at people like you, and because it looks effortless and they don't necessarily understand the amount of time and effort you put into it and the infrastructure that we have in terms of like the 18 people who work full time at this.
Yeah.
They just feel that they don't have to put the effort
But Gary,
in.
even like good marriage, like you look at
You're
someone's marriage, from the outside, or, the way their kids are or anything. And you're just like, well, I don't have that with my partner. So it must be, we're different, or we grew apart, or it's not. No, because it looks effortless, but that takes a lot of effort. And that's something that Elena told me. It's like, it is a lot of work. Like this empire that is, and by the way, when we say empire, I'm not talking about like empire that you make with money. That's part of it. But like you treat your family and your household like an empire, and you run it like an empire, and that's, every household should look at it like that. And it's so sacred, and you need to protect it. And you need to make sure that the people that are welcome to it are people that are showing up for you and doing the work. And it's just, that's something that I feel like we can look at everything in life and feel that way, right? Where everything looks effortless, but we don't see how much it takes. So if it's content creation, if it's like a family life, if it's your relationship with your children, with your mother, everything is a lot of effort. It
is a lot of effort. Your actions have to map to your goals at the end of the day. And a lot of people don't do that. And then they ask themselves why they're not achieving in their respective fields.
And there's a lot of excuses that can validate their unachievedness. Is that a word?
Maybe.
Inachievity.
Probably not. What do they say? You either make progress or you make excuses.
That was good. You have expectations from everything that we're doing, which understandably so. But how do you balance expectations that you have and enjoying just like life and being in the moment?
I think the best thing I did was pick up these hobbies. Like for me, shooting and writing, those are two hobbies that have really, learning those as new skills.
Yeah.
Because I'm still at the very early stages of learning those two skills and getting good at them. I think that's really helped me balance things off. I think that's really helped me kind of appreciate the moment, and especially getting time by myself. The fact that like I'll hop on my bike on a Sunday at 6 a.m. and I don't come back till like 2 in the afternoon, and I'm riding that whole time. Like that's something for me. So that helps me out a lot. That helps me between like, I don't really have these expectations anymore. Like I'm able to enjoy my life because I found these things that I like to do. And I feel before, when we were living in Canada, and even the first few years that we were living here, that was I never had that balance. So I always was about, like, for me, joy was achievement in business.
Yeah.
Now for me, joy is my overall happiness which leads me to achieve in business. So rather than taking the direct and obvious approach to achievement in business, I naturally started going outside and looking at like other hobbies. And then those hobbies bring me joy, and the joy gives me happiness and stability. And then I'm operating our businesses from a much calmer vantage point, a much calmer vantage point that I believe has allowed us to. I'm actually thinking about it now. That allows us to kind of excel. So we've been doing progressively, better in the last, I'd say, 12 months.
Yeah.
We weren't doing bad before, but now things are, I feel things are really falling into place. And I think that's why. It's because I'm pursuing these other things. And it's also had like a really positive impact on my relationship with you. I feel you and I are more aligned, both from a business perspective, and from a family perspective, and romantically. So I'm really appreciating that.
I agree. I definitely see the correlation of you picking up these new.
When I stopped thinking about death, I consciously stopped thinking about death.
You stopped thinking about death?
Well, I try to stop thinking about it. It creeps in every now and then.
Why are you thinking about death?
You'll think about it too when you get closer to my age.
But don't you think, I was actually talking about it with Gigi, because our friend Gigi, she was sharing how, she had to deal with her fear of death. Like she had this unreasonable thing after she had kids, which actually is pretty common. A lot of women, or I think not even women, everyone, once you kind of bring children to the world, you start really becoming aware of how immortal or mortal you are.
Immortal.
No, you are.
Mortal.
Mortal.
Yes, how mortal you are.
Yeah.
To me, it's not about fear of death. It's about knowing that I have less time left than I already used. And that kind of makes you sad, and that makes you think about it. And that makes you not so much scared of death, but more of scared of losing the opportunity. And so with that in mind, that's when I started picking up these new hobbies. That's when I started picking up these new hobbies.
I love that you decided that picking up riding a motorcycle, which is very dangerous, is a way for you to deal with.
I like riding a motorcycle because it puts me, when I'm on the road, especially when I'm doing like highway speeds, it puts me in a place that I'm in between life and death at any moment. Like sometimes when I'm doing like 90 on the highway, especially here in Miami, and in surrounding areas, I know that at any moment I could die. And I don't know what it is about that, but I kind of like it. I like it, and
that's crazy.
Well, no, I like it because when I get home
and
I'm in one piece and I see you and the kids, it makes me really happy that I made it back. Because it happened recently. I was riding on the highway and like an old chair fell off a truck, and it was just lying in the middle of the lanes, like on the line, and I zipped by it doing 90. If that chair, and it was like a sizable chair, would have been in the middle of the lane, and if I would have hit that chair, I don't know if I would have survived that. Whereas in a car, you'll hit the chair, you might wipe out doing 90, but chances are you'll live. Like airbags will go off. But on a bike, that's it. You're just flying off that bike. And I probably missed it by like a foot or two. And that's something I can't foresee that. Meaning I can ride defensively, and I can make sure I keep my distance from the cars ahead of me. I can make sure that I change my lanes accurately. But I can't stop a tire blowing out. I can't stop debris on the road.
Is it like a confirmation for you that you have like more shit to do on this earth? Like if, you got spared today, that means that, I got more life to live.
Knowing that I have the life insurance in place. No, I'm not kidding. I don't know why you're laughing. Knowing that I have the life insurance in place has given me this new freedom to pursue doing things that otherwise I would have felt would be too risky. That being said, I mean, obviously it's better if I stick around because
it would be nice.
You need me in order to help you raise the boys, because I feel that growing up without a father wouldn't be great for them. It would be really bad, but at least they'd be covered financially. But just getting back to the whole thing, I mean, I enjoy it because I just like the perspective it gives me. I like coming home in one piece and seeing you guys and knowing that we're okay. I don't know. It's made me appreciate. It's
actually a beautiful gift to be able to feel this way, because we, oftentimes we disconnect from that feeling of gratitude.
Every now and then I sink back into feeling like I haven't done enough, I haven't accomplished enough, and that happens to me from time to time. And we were actually leaving the basketball game. It was the other night when we were leaving the basketball game. And it was, you and our boys, and you were walking ahead of me, and that thought crept into my head for a second, and then I looked at the four of you, and I said, wow, like, what a stupid thing for me to think. And so by having all of you in the same place after we just got back from this basketball game and we had fun, and I was like, I'm so stupid. I have so much abundance in my life. And the fact that, like, for me to think of the, you know, these aspects that could have been better and still can be better, but I didn't do, it's like, what a stupid thing for me to think. And so that thought crossed my mind, and I was happy that I thought that like I kind of self-corrected myself in the moment. So that was good. But yeah, with the motorcycles and the shooting guns, like, I know we never talked about the shooting guns because it's this like politically charged thing, but I don't see it that way. To me, it's like a skill, and I appreciate the mechanics of the gun, and I appreciate getting more accurate with it, and like getting tips from my instructor and you know.
No, you're doing it responsibly.
I sent you that photo with the with me hitting those bullseyes, concur, like one after the other. Yeah. With me hitting that X. That was at 7 yards. So
that's amazing.
I thought that was pretty cool.
I don't know what it means, but it sounds really cool.
7 yards is a distance. It's like,
I don't know what it is. You know what?
It's like between me and Dean over there. Maybe a little less.
That's pretty far. Good for you. So proud of you.
Thanks.
You know, Maxie, the other day when we were brushing teeth, he said...
Whose teeth?
His teeth. Okay. He said, Mom, when I'm going to die...
He's been having this death conversation.
He's been having that conversation, which actually is very on par with what Ben was talking about at that age.
With Ben, it was different. No, Ben we were in Costa Rica, and him and I were swimming in the ocean, and he looked at me, he goes, we live forever, right? And I said, no. He lost his shit. He was 5 years old. He was so upset. He's like, what do you mean we don't live forever? What do you mean? I go, we don't live forever. He goes, you're going to die? I go, yeah. He goes, wait a second, I'm going to die too? I'm like, not anytime soon, but yeah, eventually. He's like, what? He was so upset. I didn't know how to calm him down.
But for Maxie, it was, he was kind of aware of it, but he asked me a different question. He said, is this my first time here on Earth? And I said, what do you mean? It's like, well, if my soul dies, if I die, he didn't say soul. If I die, where will I go? I said, where depends what you believe in, but I believe that your soul like comes back here. So he asked, was I here before? And I said, I don't know. It depends how you feel. Maybe you have been here before and you weren't just like different. And he said, well, he said, when I'm going to die, like me, he said, Mama, you're going to die. When am I going to see you? He was like having a really deep conversation at 7 a.m. that I didn't really know how to process. And then last night, if you remember, because he was in bed with us, he was saying, like, he asked me again about death. And then he said, he was sad. He's like, I don't want you to die. I'll miss you. And he hugged me.
The other day, he said, when I come back.
You see, I'm telling you.
He said, are you going to be my dad again? And I said, I'm going to be your dad forever. It doesn't matter where you go, where I go, where you go. I said, I'm your dad forever.
Oh, it's going to make me cry. You know, I read this book, Many Lives, Many Masters. I think it's Dr. Barry Weiss or something. I think it's his name. But it was talking about this whole concept of like reincarnation and like souls. And that book gave me some kind of comfort in regards to the conversation of death and just kind of like, where do we go from here? So maybe when I get older, I'll think about it the way you think about it now. But right now, it feels like I feel very blessed to live this life in this body, but I know I'll be back.
I think people in their 30s, this is like a decade of really building, of really building something meaningful. And not just
I've been building something meaningful since 22. Since my 22 years.
Since Jake was born?
Yeah.
You're not wrong.
It's been building nonstop.
No, you've been building your whole life. It's not just financial. It's just like really establishing yourself as who you are. And a lot of people ignore it. They don't understand the opportunity that they have when they're at that age. I guess in just being in your 50s, you just really start to understand how the world works. And it's I don't want to say it's a shame, but it's one of kind of the ironies of life that you only start getting it later on.
Yeah.
And I find that the people who I know who are the most successful, they got it early. They understood the value of learning from others versus figuring it out themselves. I always figured it out myself.
I mean, you didn't have a choice.
I didn't have a choice, but I didn't have a choice because my dad and my mom were too busy trying to figure out how to like feed us, but through their kind of whole immigration thing. But even I feel like I had a hard time identifying mentors because I always felt like I have nothing to offer them, so why would they do anything for me? And in reality, that's not the case. And even now, like when I meet people, it's like, and people are like super nice to me, I right away think of, well, how do I exchange value? How do I give them something that's, and it's not always about that. But I believe that like people who are young, like teens and 20s, people who can learn how to learn from other people, who can identify people they have good intentions to kind of pay things forward. Because there are a lot of those people, and we meet a lot of them here.
Yeah.
People who just truly want to help and they want nothing in exchange. And that's one of the differences between Canada and the US. I feel in Canada, everything's like a swap meet. Everything's like, okay, what can we trade?
I don't know, Gary. I don't know if it's...
No, you're just trying to get me out to talk shit about Canada. But I'm not talking shit about Canada. I'm just saying...
literally are.
I'm not. No, not at all. I'm just saying culturally, I'm just talking about my experience.
Yeah.
I'm not saying Canada's a shit country. I'm saying that when I was in Canada, I felt that everything was very transactional.
Yeah.
It's like a lot of friendships and a lot of transactions were based on, okay, what can you do for me? What can I do for you? I'm not saying that's necessarily
but
wrong.
In reality, everything is a value exchange. It does not necessarily come into just like as money or business.
We have friends here, accomplished people, not just like financially, although financially very much so, but just people who are like accomplished overall in life. They're enlightened. They're just like, they really figured things out,
Yeah.
And I see these people going out of their way to help us without asking for anything, nothing. And I just find that so endearing. And I guess my point is, like, and you probably know who I'm talking. Like recently we were at a gathering and the host introduced us to somebody. I didn't ask for an introduction to somebody, like, for business. I didn't ask for an introduction. And they just did it out of kindness.
Because I think that at some point you reach, and I don't know, I met a lot of people like that here. It's about like what you give, it gets back to you.
No, you're right.
Either directly or indirectly, you know what I mean?
I think
so that's the energy here.
I think if I kind of think about where I could have done better and what I would tell our sons once they get a little older is I always had this attitude when people tried to help me. It's like, I don't need you. Like I always had this pride, like I don't need anything. I don't want to owe anybody anything. And I think that there's probably a better way to live and to move through the world, because there were probably a lot of people who were coming to me at various stages of my life and my career who were trying to do things for me. Some of them had wanted something from me. Some of them were just kind people. And I felt like my response was overall was just like, I can do everything myself. I'm more open to it now.
Yeah.
When I can't figure out why is this person trying to help me out. Whereas before I would shut those people out. Now I'm more open to it because after being here for almost 4 years, I kind of like I'm more open. I'm letting things flow more.
Yeah.
I think that kind of going back to, again, if we're talking about, trying to like pass on some wisdom to some of the younger people who could be watching this, is that learn that skill. I think that skill of understanding when it's okay to let people in and when it's okay to let people help and mentor you, I think is important. And I think if I would have done that, I would have been further ahead in life. Anything if I would have done differently before I met you could have altered the path of my life that wouldn't have made it so you and I crossed paths. So I don't regret a damn thing. Not one.
Yeah. That was very vulnerable. I want to tell you that hyper-independence is a trauma response, which I've recognized I had in our relationship, actually.
In our relationship?
Yeah, because I was holding myself back from depending on you in a way that, we were a unit, but I was always kind of saving a piece of myself to myself, if that makes sense.
And now?
And now when I've realized that is coming from a place of like trauma response, I started really making an effort to change it. And I see the beauty of really letting my guards down and really kind of leaning in and really putting myself deep into this marriage. And by the way, this happened like 2 years ago. I started having this realization.
You weren't committed to this marriage up until 2 years ago?
I was committed, but I always had in the back of my mind just like,
What was in the back of your mind, Valeria?
In the back of my mind, of you just like, I think it's because of what I've observed my mom do throughout her life, of just, she could never really rely on someone. And I know that I chose you for a reason, because you gave me a feeling that I knew was what my mom never had, and I knew that that's what I needed in my life. But aside from falling in love with you, but it was still something that was very much present in the way I was conducting myself in this marriage, honestly, in the way like I was participating in this marriage.
So what's changed in the last 2 years?
Me realizing that I'm operating from that place, and just
how has that manifested to a change in our relationship?
I just feel like I'm a little different now with you than before. Do you feel that? Maybe it's more an internal thing.
Maybe more lately, but I didn't see a shift necessarily 2 years ago.
Well, it took a long time.
I also think
it's still taking time.
Listen, look, we've been married this July, coming up. So in about 7 months, will be 13 years that we're married.
Yeah.
Right. So I also think it's like everything else, right? I'm always talking about the long game with everything.
Mm-hmm.
And you and I have been married long enough. We've been married so like a significantly long time.
Yeah.
I think we're past the point where a lot of couples split up. And
it's
I think
that 10 year.
Is it 10 years?
7 years and 10 years is shit hits the fan.
And I think at this point we've just proven ourselves to each other.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've
So maybe it's like the combination of all those things.
I think you just know that you can count on me.
Yeah.
And I might be brash sometimes, and I might be a little aggressive sometimes, and like in the way I communicate with you, which we talked about before. We'll see how this video goes. I'm really curious as to now. Now it's like
just surrender, babe.
It's like a 50-50 whether the comments on this YouTube video are going to be like, this guy's an asshole. I don't like the way he talks to Valeria. Get rid of him. You're so much better than him. You're out of his league. He's a jerk. Yeah. It's either that or maybe somebody will like me this time, but I don't really care. Either way. Yeah, but I think, I mean, it needs to be proven out. You got to put the time and effort into it and see kind of what happens on the back end. But I never doubted you. The difference between you and me is that I was already 38 years old when we met.
Yeah.
I had a lot of girlfriends.
Right. No, you went through a different process. When you marry young, you don't realize, but even if it's, not different partners with the same partner, you go through a lot of kind of the growing up and realizations. And I mean, we've been married for almost 13 years, and only 2 years ago I was like, I am being hyper independent with Gary. Like, I want to lean into this marriage fully, which I haven't really been doing for the past 11 years. Like, that's insane. I didn't feel that. I'm actually surprised that you're saying that to me. Yeah, no, I shared it with you before. It was kind of in the back of my mind, where it's like, have a safety net. Like, don't, which now I don't.
I never felt you had a safety net. What safety net? Do you have a safety net that I'm not aware of?
No.
Like, you have a stash of like a whole pile of money somewhere that I don't know about?
Maybe.
Okay. That's kind of weird.
But it was just in the back of my mind, Even if I didn't do anything about it, it was this in the back of my mind, this constant kind of like voice. I don't have any stash anywhere. Or maybe I do. I don't know.
What do you mean
Mysterious.
maybe I do? What do you mean
You have to keep the mystery alive.
No, but the mystery alive is like when you show up wearing lingerie. That's the mystery alive. Not a secret pile of money that you're hiding from your husband. That's not a mystery. Nobody no husband likes
tomato,
that.
I don't know.
No, there's no tomatoes or tomatoes. Feel free to step it up with the laundry. I'm down with that.
Okay.
I always like that.
Oh my God. Okay. This is the time to wrap up.
Why is it the time to wrap up?
Because you have a meeting at 2. We're not talking about lingerie or not.
I have a meeting at 20 minutes. We don't have to talk about lingerie. I'm not going into our like private life. I just mentioned lingerie. Why are you so like standoffish about it? I don't want to get into the details of our romantic life. We don't have to do that. But I'd really like to know about the secret pile of money you've got somewhere. Do you want to tell me about it? I mean, first of all, like, where is it, and how did you acquire this pile of money, and how much is there? Do you really have a pile of money?
No, what are you talking about?
Well, you're bringing it up. Like, you're kind of like a
I'm
little red in the face.
I'm literally constantly asking you for cash. You think I would ask you?
You're asking me for cash?
Yeah, because I don't carry cash.
That statement that you just made was complete like a fabrication.
No, when I need for valet or tips or whatever.
You never asked me for. You have every credit card known to man.
I know. I'm not talking about credit card. I'm talking about
actual
live cash. Yes.
Why do you need cash? What are you, a caveman? Why do you need cash?
No, because you need to tip people.
Are you Amish? You don't need cash. You don't. Huh?
Do you think Amish live longer?
Why are you switching topics now? You're trying to get away from this pile of money that you've got hidden from me. Where's this pile of money?
This conversation is derailing to all these different places.
My father, he prided himself on never hiding money from my mother.
Yeah.
I mean, they ended up in divorce, but years ago. But he always had, and he told me a secret one day. He goes, I want to tell you a secret. Like, what's the secret? He's like, I never hide money from your mother. Never. She knows she knows everything. Except I have $100 in my wallet for emergency. And
that's the money she doesn't know about?
And he showed me, he opened his wallet and he showed me this like crusty $100 bill.
Yeah.
That was from the 70s. And he showed me, maybe not the 70s because he arrived to Canada in the 80s.
Right.
So, no, in 76 he arrived to Canada. So when he got to Canada, the first thing he did is he got 100 in cash and he put it in his wallet. And in case anything ever happened, he always had that 100 in cash.
I wish you had that. That would have been a great...
That $100 bill?
Yeah, that crusty 70s
no, I don't
$100 bill. Anyways, don't worry about it, baby. I'm your emergency fund. I got you. I'm your crusty $100.
We're going to talk offline about this pile of money that you're hiding from me.
Well, thank you so much for joining me. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks for having me. I have a nice call at 2:30.
I love you.
I'll be talking to a forensic accountant.
Don't tell him about my money stash.
That's why I'm talking to him.
Thank you so much for watching this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't miss my newest episode right here. And if you're listening to the podcast on Apple or Spotify, please go and leave a review with your biggest takeaway. I love reading your thoughts. And if you have any suggestions for guests or topics, you can leave them in the comment section. And always remember, you are not alone.